Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, reviews of comics new and old, to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Clayface, the saga continues. We've taken a look at the first Clayface, Basil Karlo, who debuted in the Golden Age, an actor who took up the role of Clayface, who was a villainous character he had portrayed to exact twisted revenge on a studio for firing him and trying to remake his movies. Also, Bruce had a fiance. Link in card if you missed it. Now it's time to take a trip a couple of decades into the future to the Silver Age to meet the second Clayface, Matt Hagen. But before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Join us in this comic book journey. Matt Hagen was created by Bill Finger and Sheldon Moldoff. Finger had also been co-creator of the first Clayface. Now, the revival of this character was largely brought about by the fact that the Silver Age was a time of rebirth for many characters. Born initially out of censorship and necessity, the Silver Age eventually found its boon and actually became quite the creative heyday. It hit its stride, and many of the characters and teams created in that period are still in use at the time of this recording. We have a video on the Silver Age as well, card and link. While the Golden Age had a grimmer, more pulpy and at times grisly and realistic approach, the Silver Age went more for the fantastic, or the scientific origins of things, less likely to get accused of encouraging juvenile delinquency that way. Also, sci-fi was very much on the rise, even though sci-fi comics weren't, because again, censorship. Now, Karlo had only been used twice in the Golden Age, and those appearances were within 1 year of each other. So the concept and character name of Clayface were very much up for grabs. He wasn't exactly a character with a giant fan base, or who was thought would be thoroughly missed. Plus, it was the age of reinvention, as mentioned. A name like Clayface posed so many possibilities, and they were very much exploited to good and iconic effect in Detective Comics 298, which saw the first appearance of Silver Age Clayface. Batman and Robin defy the menace of Clayface. Right away, this Clayface catches your eye. He's monstrous, and you understand instantly why he has the name he does. Also, I see you hyphen between Clay and Face. You weren't there in the Golden Age stories. Welcome. The challenge of Clayface, the teaser page, showcases that Clayface can transform into anything, even hybrid monsters, and he looks like he's melting. It sticks with you. Our story begins with Batman being given money donated to the police benefit fund, $100,000, and it's being photographed for the paper because it is a slow news day in Gotham. But not for long. In the shadows lurks Clayface, actually wearing an outfit slightly reminiscent of his Golden Age counterpart. Clayface sheds his trench coat and goes for the money. His flesh soft and malleable, just like clay. Gradually, Batman feels the form grow harder and harder until phrasing. Actually, it's quite terrifying because Clayface is turning into a giant python. The bat rope should be strong enough to hog tie him. Really? I mean, who am I to question a man who has bat shark repellent? But again, it doesn't really matter because Clayface turns into a buzzsaw, cuts free, then turns into an eagle and flies off with the money. And so we see the eagle transform back into a man living in a shabby attic according to our judgmental narration box. This is Matt Hagen, and we are thrown right into how he got his powers. So Matt Hagen is a shirker of conventional employment. Instead, he was skin diving, looking for treasure, when he happened upon a hidden grotto, a cave. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, this cave will be familiar. It is the cave from the Brave and the Bold team-up comic that Superman and Catwoman end up destroying. Card and link. He sees a mysterious pool and goes in for a closer look, but slips falling in, where he is enveloped by a strange protoplasm which transforms him. Oh, that pool did something to my body. It's like some kind of clay. Hard clay. As he sobs, wishing he could just look like he did before, he feels that that thought is creating some kind of mental command and energy that his body is responding to. But like any good Silver Age villainous opportunist, his fear and sadness are short-lived. He tries another form, a centaur. God no, he's gonna date Lois and Supergirl. Neither of them can resist a horse. While Matt decides that with his newfound powers, a life of crime is the only option. Take the next step. Treat yourself. He's kind of endearing in how keen he is, actually. Now that I'm rich, I'll live like the rich do. I'll even collect art like they do. But the only difference is, I won't pay for my collection. He just looks so happy. I don't know, Matt. Go find the best art you can find. Speaking of art, you may see this painting behind me. It was a gift from a subscriber. Thank you so much. I'm putting their tag on the screen. Thank you, Eric Stope. Hopefully I said your name right. Probably didn't because I never say anything right when I need to. It's beautiful. I appreciate it. Clayface would definitely be going to nab this one. I am now so much closer to having a villain lair because I have a portrait of myself. That or being Bruce Wayne. Villain lair, Bruce Wayne. Both. Owlman. The Gotham Gazette names him Clayface for obvious reasons. But we must interrupt this crime spree for Batman to put Robin in his place. Golly, Batman, we don't even know whether Clayface is a creature or a human being. Use your common sense, Robin. Would a creature steal money? Would it be of any use to a creature? Yeah, Robin, stop contributing. Although, I mean, maybe the creature likes nice things, Bruce. Maybe it has an extensive vinyl collection. Clayface, meanwhile, is making good on his word and going after some art. Batman and Robin are magically there and try to stop him, but he shows more skills, changing his viscosity viscosity, but we also see that his powers are ebbing. He only escapes by morphing into someone else and tricking them, which Batman instantly takes to mean that his powers aren't permanent. World's greatest detective. But so does Hagen, who goes back to the pool to immerse himself and decides that he's gonna time it to see how long his powers last. See, an experiment. Look, science. He also decides to get a bit more legit in his villain game. I'll get some hirelings to run interference for me, should I come up against trouble again. Matt Hagen has a simple, easy to follow thought process. It's like a step-by-step guide to becoming a Batman villain. Starting with the most important step, have fun, get powers or a gimmick of some kind, get henchmen. Next step is optional. Become obsessed with Batman. His henchmen are kind of skeezed out to be working for someone who constantly changes his face, but he pays well. Unfortunately, these henchmen are his downfall because they leave clues. Clay, but not from Clayface, but from one of the man's shoes. The Batman is then able to track back to that guy's apartment and then follow that guy to a rendezvous with Clayface. That's right, the Clay clue in a Clayface story didn't come from Clayface. Well played, 1961. Clayface stuns them and seems to escape, but actually he's turned himself into part of a tree. That's a great visual. Man, that could be done in such a scary fashion. Robin tails him on his whirly bat that looks like an office chair with a propeller attached to his mansion. And he climbs down his chimney where Hagen was hanging out in his underwear, trying to gauge how much more time he had before his powers ran out. And he panics and turns himself into a lion, dinosaur, unicorn hybrid. Half lion, half unicorn, half dinosaur. Man, bear, pig joke. I jest, but Robin is nearly gored to death by a unicorn. What a way to go. Thankfully, Batman tracks the whirly bat and is there to throw a tapestry over our creature. A creature who wanted money. So you owe Robin an apology. But Hagen's powers have reached their time limit and he changes back. But he refuses to tell him the secret of his powers. Instead, we see him in his cell vowing that he will escape and Clayface will return. Again, looking happy. What a nice, clean-cut young man. He collects art. This version of Clayface was a game changer as well as a shapeshifter. I've brought shame onto my family. This story is fairly standard. Villain tries to steal stuff, Batman and Robin stop him. What makes it special is Clayface. This Clayface sticks in your mind. The look established here will be tweaked, yes, but the figure of oozing clay will be a mainstay. The abilities are exciting and varied, but also come with weaknesses. At this moment in history, a time limit. That will of course change to being vulnerable to certain elements or materials. But at the moment, it does mean that he's still not invincible and that he at times needs to strategize and plan out how he uses his powers. This does what a good reimagining should. It takes the concept, makes it its own, but doesn't feel the need to denigrate what came before, or take shots at it. Instead, it contains vestiges and some small elements that were used for inspiration. From horror movie actor to literal monster. A masked Clayface to a real one. This Clayface earns the name several times over. However, Hagen himself isn't exactly the most interesting character. He has generic motivations. Get rich quick. So he's nowhere near as psychologically complex as his Golden Age counterpart, and that's even before Karlo got more explored later on. How scary Clayface's powers are isn't fully being explored yet either. And Hagen doesn't develop a dark edge for most of his run, and despite being so iconic looking and having a name many are familiar with, he didn't appear all that often. And he actually dies in Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1985, and he stays pretty dead, though he did cameo as a spirit in a Hawk and Dove annual. In 1996, a reimagining of Hagen's origin will be published in the anthology series Legends of the Dark Knight, written by Alan Grant with art by Kike Alcatena. This one ups the dark grotesque factor, removes the fun Silver Age for the Dark Age from whence it hails, and really wallows in the body horror and the idea that the pool unhinged Hagen's mind. It also adds a love interest called Lisa for no reason, who I wish was not there, because he kills her when she tries to get him to not be a crazed Clayman. It's cool to look at, but I don't know. Kinda like my art collecting boy. Too dark for my blood. Still, Hagen was a catalyst both narratively and conceptually for future Clayfaces, largely playing with different motivations for the character. The power set was now a set, but now the quest was to find a personal way of portraying them that stuck, which amusingly enough turned out to be an updated Basil Karlo. Hagen has some fun outings, and each time he tries to expand the control and mastery of the protoplasm that gives him his powers. The cave where he gets them is actually destroyed by Batman back in the Silver Age. So yeah, I see you inaccurate Brave and the Bold 2007 run, 2008 Superman Catwoman team-up comic. Card and link. Hagen has a feud with the Joker. Brainiac fights Superman. He has an exciting, if not overly plentiful, tenure. Hagen's blood would be used to create the third Clayface, Preston Payne. Get hype, actually get prepared, because Preston Payne is the tragic Clayface. He's also the final member of the three Clayfaces used in the amalgamation to form the base of the DCAU Clayface who bears Hagen's name. So what do you think of Matt Hagen? Is it a cool update? Do you need to see more of him? So far, are you feeling Basil or Matt, or just all a Clayface? Why pit them against each other? We can all live in harmony. harmony. A bunch of Clayfaces do actually get together later on and form the Mud Pack. Just share all your thoughts down below. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some out of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. This piece is gonna go hang on a special spot, but I wanted to share it with you. Thanks so much to everybody who sends me emails and art and the like. I really appreciate it. Okay, now I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.